This is the Giraffes Don't Eat Steak podcast, a show that brings you marketing stories, tips, hints, and much more. A treat for those who want to succeed in business or marketers who just want to learn. Hello, Alex.
Hello, Erica. How are you doing?
I am good. Look who I've got onto the podcast. It's Francis West.
The old gang is back.
It is. I'm so delighted because we haven't spoken for a long time, and we even went karting together in the good old days.
I was going to say we haven't spoken for a long time, but we haven't been karting for an even longer time.
That's true.
Shameful. We need to fix that problem sooner than later.
Oh, Francis, it's so wonderful to have you on our podcast. Thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure.
Obviously, Alex and I know you really, really well, but why don't you tell our audience who you are and what you do?
Well, I love gardening. No. Sorry, wrong podcast. Now, my name is Francis West. I'm the CEO of a company called Security Aware, and our business focuses 110 million% on preventing people and businesses from being scammed and hacked all around the world.
Love it. And we were privileged to work with you, 3, 4, 5 years ago. It feels like a long time ago, in helping you craft your message. And the one thing, obviously, Alex and I in marketing, that really strikes me is how much cybersecurity and marketing are actually related, how much we have to be aware of. And I know earlier we were talking, which we shouldn't do before we start recording, but we were, about one of the risks in particular on outbound emails. Francis, you were saying there's been a change. Tell us, what is the big risk with outbound emails?
I thought you were never going to ask, Erica. But anyway, now that you're asking. So we've been doing this for companies for years and years. I'm saying years and years, probably for the last 7, 8 years. When you set up any email domain, whether it's Microsoft, whether it's Google Workspace, it doesn't matter. You need to set up what we call 3 absolute crucial email security records. And they called the SPF, the DKIM, and the DMARC records. Now, last year, I think it was February time, both Google and Yahoo, for instance, started enforcing these, which means to a marketing company, if you do not have these in place and you are doing massive email campaigns to your customers, not only will the emails go into spam, they will simply be discarded. Now, if you think that's bad, last month, was it last month? Yeah, the 5th of May, what do we know? That this month, 5th of May, Microsoft has now joined that bandwagon, which means that if a company that sends out a lot of emails do not have these records in place, their email deliverability will fall, like a percentage or I can't tell you high, but massively so. So that's reason number 1. And if I tell you, and I'll gladly share the tool with you, Erica, that you can share out to your listeners. But, for every 100 companies we now test, maybe 2 or 3 of them will score, because we've got a little app that you can then get your own score, and your score have to be 5, because any score below 5, so in other words, let's say you've got a score of 4, it means that I can still impersonate that company, which means anybody in the planet, especially North Korea, which I don't know if you know, they fund the entire nuclear arms program by cybercrime. And this is one of the key areas they look at. They look at all these companies that do not have these records in place. Why? Because they can impersonate them. This is why so much fraud is happening every day. But coming back to the marketing side, this is absolutely imperative that marketing companies make sure that the customers they work with have these records in place, because their email deliverability will be the best.
Right. So I'm not technical. So when you say DMARC and stuff, it's already gone over my head. But what I did hear was impersonation. And actually, you tricked me the other day and sent me an email which came from my old company email address where I used to work.
Absolutely. I mean, it's frightening, because a lot of people...
Did you gain access to her accounts? Were you successful?
Not at all. You see, this is the interesting thing. Alex, I don't even need to. I can do this with a tool legally, because this is, you know, as part of one of the services we provide. You know, legally, I can demonstrate this for anybody that doesn't score out of 5 out of 5. I can send them email. You're going to laugh now, but I'm just putting this on the screen. Have you seen our new duck?
I
This
haven't.
is our cyber duck. And
Nice.
this duck is a really naughty duck because he can quack you if you don't have, if you're not 5 out of 5.
Oh,
You know,
I love it.
and this stuff is not difficult to do, and here's the other problem, coming back to the marketing. If you don't have a proper managed service to monitor these changes in these 3 records, guess what? People move CRM systems, they move platforms where they send emails from. And if you do not make those changes straight away, all of a sudden, again, you'll see your email deliverability, you know, fall through the floor. And then your customers wonder why, you know, their campaigns are not landing. So you are responsible having this in place so your customers can get lots of leads and they don't go into in the spam folder instead of into the inbox direct.
Yeah.
Which is a
But
very
let
important
me give you a bit more information, Erica, just to explain to you the logic of how this works. So I send you a letter. You received the letter. Now, how do you know that letter was definitely from me? So the only way you're going to know is that if you have some forensic analysis or something that can actually open the letter up and look at the DNA and the fingerprints on the letter to make sure that letter was 100% sent from me and not from Alex or from anybody else. So if we bring it back to email, when the receiving server receives the email, it does a back check on the sending server, and then it looks for those records. If it can see you've got the right records in place, it goes, oh, you're a legitimate sender. I will let the email come in. If it doesn't find those records, guess what? It either drops the email or it goes into spam. Does that now making sense or not?
Yes. Thank you for dumbing it down for me. I like that really helped me a lot.
But and you know what's so funny? The other day, seriously, I'm speaking to the cybersecurity company, and you know they look after banks and hospitals and people like that. They're for Israeli based, and I really rate Israeli cyber one of the best in the world. And whilst I'm on the phone, sorry, on the Zoom call, I sent him a neat email from his CEO. You should have seen his face go white. You know, so we see that a lot of IT companies and even cyber companies are not even aware of this stuff. And that's why I'm so glad for the opportunity to talk about this today, because this can save people's businesses and make them money.
Absolutely.
So I have a question, Francis. Obviously, in marketing, one of the most important thing really is understanding your customer and understanding everything about them and what their potential barriers are to purchase and where their limitations might be in understanding your product and how you can communicate your product in a way that really connects with them and makes them and solves their problem. So in your realm, what are the biggest let's say misconceptions or barriers to fixing problems they have or not wanting to learn about certain things? How do you approach those kind of conversations with customers?
Alex, I love that question, because people say, well, who's our biggest competitor? And I say the IT person, IT company, IT department. And I tell you why. And it's not necessarily their fault. It's either the owner's fault or it's the board of directors, because they are completely in this land of, they assume, of course incorrectly, that the IT company person department have to deal with all the cyber related issues. They were never trained for this. This is a complete different discipline, hence why we set up a different business 7 years ago. Do you know? So that's number one. The second thing I'll tell you, again answering your question, every single time without fail, when we get a new client that's just been hacked or scammed badly, they go, oh, but Francis, I thought my IT company had me covered. You know what my response is? Why do you want to blame the electrician when the roof starts leaking?
Nice.
You know,
That's
but
great.
and this is the problem that we have. You know, this complete wrong, I don't know, idea, because if we rewind, let's go even back 20 years. You know, we had IT support servers and then we moved to the cloud. And then all of a sudden we had CCTV, and then loads of fancy 3-in-1 printers. And then, you've got all these extra technology that comes on board. And now, bang, we've got cybersecurity problems. If you look at what happened with Marks and Spencer, dare I say, and with Co-op, and with Harrods, and let's just go a bit sideways, and we talk about St. Thomas's Hospital. The reason why they got done is because of supply chain. One of their key suppliers was infiltrated, and that's how they got into St. Thomas's Hospital. So if we go back, I might get sued over this, but with Marks and Spencers, they have underinvested in cyber for so many years, and then they wonder why they got done. They didn't listen to the warnings.
So no,
Alex.
I was just going to say that there is also a perception amongst consumers, and I also fall into that bucket sometimes, just especially when I'm in a rush and I want to get something sorted, about signing up to a company, a tech company, doesn't matter what it is, Instagram, Facebook, or any other website that you need their service, and you just put in a silly password or one that you've used before, just thinking, oh no, but I mean this company's huge. This is absolutely massive, like obviously safe. And just like your example there with Marks and Spencers, that's not always the case.
No, not at all. I mean, they are losing, just to put it in perspective, something like £3.5 million a day at the moment, just on the online ordering. They've wiped off, what, 15, almost 20% of their market value now? It's costing them hundreds and hundreds of millions. My prediction here today is that Marks and Spencer is going to go bust because of this.
Ouch.
And that doesn't teach people a lesson. And the other thing I really want to get across is that if a large company like them can get done, how easy it is for hackers to get into a small marketing company, And because they know that, again, we're talking about supply chain. If I can get into the marketing company, I've got access to all your, online, all your social media accounts. I've got your, all your pay, your what do you call it, your click, ad campaigns where you're paying for clicks and for ads. I've got access to this. I can tell you a few horror stories around that one. So marketing companies are targeted very heavily because of the fact that they're dealing with larger companies and they've got all their login details. And then what they do, of course, nobody listening to this will ever do that. They use the same password because they don't have a system to manage it properly. Why are you smiling?
we don't do that. We don't do
No,
that.
you never do that.
No, we never do that.
They use the same password for all these different accounts that they manage, and then they wonder why they get done. And do you think they'll keep the customer after that? No, they won't. Like Marks and Spencer is going to lose, or no, they have lost thousands and thousands of clients because of this.
So we are, for anyone listening, we are protected by security everywhere. So we are protected. So please don't worry about us.
You are one of our first ever clients. So you are the best protected marketing company I know on the planet.
There we go. So yeah, if you're listening, we are protected. We don't fall into that bucket. We definitely do not.
Accounts and your data are safe with us.
All safe. But we definitely do not use the same password for everything. Do not. So for a lot of our listeners are small business owners, and then we also have marketers that are in big companies. Now, for both of those, they're not in the tech because a lot of the time you have to, especially for the big companies, you have to approach your tech guys, right? They're the ones who have to go through this. And then for your small business owners, it's two different markets. But what is your suggestion to not let this happen? And I will share that I got the fright of my life getting this email from my old company email address, because I immediately thought if anyone gets an email from Erica at the marketingdetectiveagency.com, they're going to think it's me, right? And it could be me asking for money or me saying you haven't paid your bill. I've changed the bank account to pay here now, or there could be a way so that terrified me, but luckily we're protected, so it won't happen to us. But how do people get the protection they need, Francis?
Well, I was hoping you should say that. They need to go to a specialist, dare I say, like us. So we have, I love to say, and this is true, we've had a 100% success rate last 7 years in protecting businesses. So our whole model is about implementing 5 key layers to protect the most vulnerable areas within your business. And we do that on a 30-day rolling contract. And we can, depending if you're a small business, we can implement within 24 hours. And that's how you fix the problem. Because there are, what, 5 million small businesses in the UK? There's 1 million just in London. Yeah. And I tell you now for a fact that 99% of them are not even 5% adequately protected. And the days of Norton and McAfee, NESET, you know, those days are gone. You need a solution. My new tagline is you need AI to fix AI. So in other words, any solution that you use from a security perspective needs to use AI to look at behavior, not a database. Most security solutions out there would go, oh, have I seen this before? This attack or email that's just come in? Oh, no, I've never seen that before. It must be safe. And then it goes straight in and takes them out. Where we will actually investigate, we'll look at it, we'll look at how long ago was the domain set up. There's so much information. Also, we build a pattern when it comes to email security about every person in the business, whether you 1, 5, 10, or 500 people. And we go back when we implement, normally within 15 minutes, and we look at how people send, the language they use, you know, what kind of people do they normally contact, who's the accounts person, and then going forward, the reverse happens. So most attacks are coming by email. Yeah. Secondly, now via phone. So that's why we launched our mobile security last year. But yeah, if you want to fix this problem, very simple. Make sure no attacks get into your email. Make sure no attacks gets into your phone. Make sure that every password that you use are not sitting for sale on the dark web. You know, and number 4, use what do you call it? You know, a security solution on a computer that can recognize unknown threats. Every second of the day, there's 4 unknown threats hitting the planet. And normal antivirus solutions are at least 2 weeks behind schedule. So in other words, it's always vulnerable. And the 5th layer, of course, is you back everything up. So if you put those 5 layers in place, I can tell you now for a fact that you are decreasing your risk by a factor of 99.99999%. This stuff is so easy to fix for us. But most people don't even know that, number 1, this exists. Number 2, they think it's incredibly expensive. Every time we tell people how much they say, is that all? I'm like, yeah. You know, so this problem is fixable, but people don't know because they are being advised by the wrong people. I hope that's a long answer, but I hope that did give you an answer.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And the other one I'll add is it's easy to implement, because for me, who's a non-tech, if you're going to tell me, you know, here's a whole lot of code that you need, I'm done already. And it wasn't that. And, you know, we've been protected now for, what, 4 years, I think. And I think twice I've had an email saying, Erica, we've noticed something funny. Is this you or not you? And I could say, not me. And they're like, okay, we'll kill it. And so I know I'm protected. And Alex, the same for you, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And also I found that I've used other sort of off-the-shelf cybersecurity plans, which have actually caused my computer more problems than they've solved.
Yeah.
And they've slowed down.
Do you know why that is?
No, I have no idea.
Shall I tell you why? Let's take, I'm not going to name names, but let's take the 2 I mentioned earlier that are been known. Their marketing, staying on point, is the best in the world. Doesn't mean the solution is the best in the world, because over years they've added more and more modules on which they've never redeveloped the software from the ground up. So therefore it just became clunkier and clunkier and clunkier. And a lot of times what we see now is they've got these pop-ups, oh, we've protected you this. That's nonsense. They're just trying to make themselves look even better, because look, you know, I've protected myself against, you know, 5 or 50 or 100 things, but meantime, they were never an attack. They were just something that, you know, a link that was okay, but maybe 1%, not 100%. So they report on, we've prevented a major attack on your machine. It's just all hype and marketing.
Yeah. I've well, you know, touch wood and whistle. Since I've been on this, I've never had anything ever, not one single problem. But before I did have problems, and one of the most horrible things for me was they managed to hack in and like convert all of my photo files, and they were really precious photos that I had. I think it was actually from a South Africa trip, if I remember correctly, in the safari, and I had some beautiful photos I was really attached to that were just stored on one place on my computer, and they went in and they converted all the files and then sent me a ransom thing saying, if you want us to convert these, you have to pay us like £2,000 or something like that. And I was like, oh, what? And, you know, I tried everything I could, obviously didn't pay them. There was obviously some kind of unique coding. It's not like an easy fix you can do. So, but anyway, ever since then, I've never had a problem. But one thing I was thinking is that, I mean, obviously do not agree with hacking, but kudos to some of them, you know, because they are marketing geniuses.
They are.
They understand the vulnerability of their client, of their target client. They understand like where they are, what devices they're on, what are their they know how to prey on greed and fear, and they tap directly into that. For example, with my photos, they knew obviously that's going to be something very precious. So that's a fear, you know, if you don't unlock these, you'll never get them back. If you don't pay us, you'll never get them back, etc. And that's how they log in, how they get into big companies, you know, like even greed. This is your CEO who's messaging you. He wants this, and you're like, oh, that's good. I can get in favor with the CEO, and then you click on the link, and boom, and you're in. It's like one of the coolest podcasts I've ever listened to is I think it's called the Lazarus Heist.
Other than this one, right?
I've met the guy twice.
Second favorite. This one is your favorite.
Alex is your first one.
Correct.
No, but it's on that point, if I may interject, you know, I cannot recommend it highly enough for people to go and listen to those two series, because they made two. Okay, so the Lazarus Heist, and it's all about North Korea and how they do stuff, and it's mental, but it's worth a listen. That's the first one. The other one, which I love, my favorite, I think these people should be knighted, is the Scam Interceptors. You know, that's made in Scotland by the BBC. Have you watched those?
What's that? Sorry, the
Scam Interceptors.
No.
I tell you what, I would go and do this all day long. You know, my sixth sense of humor. My new record of keeping a scam on the phone is 18 minutes. It's my new record. And my view is the longer I keep them on the phone, the less likely they'll phone somebody that doesn't understand what they're doing. So I'm saving old ladies and grandfathers. Anyway, but Scam Interceptors is where they hack into the scammers' offices, and they see the camera. They can even see
I have seen that. I have seen that.
I love it. You must, you know, I recommend it to everybody, and then to share that with, you know, with parents or even their kids.
So I do that with catfish. I keep them on the hook, and my record is 61 days.
Wow.
I kept him on the hook for 61 days without giving him a cent.
That's brilliant.
The next challenge for you, Erica, is for you to get them to send you money.
Oh, you know, it was this close. It was this close. I almost got a plane ticket out of it, but I chickened out. I
love it. No, it's good.
Right, Francis, we were talking about the email sending, and as much as this applies to bulk email, for you know, general marketing campaigns, even small businesses, right, need to be very aware of this. You mentioned, and please remind me because I don't know, DMARC and...
DMARC, yeah, DMARC, DMARC. And if I get a little bit more technical, you know, a lot of people set it to none. I mean, again, I can show you, you know, when I'll share with you the testing tool, and you can see your score, which is important. That, you know, if you a lot of people set DMARC to none. There are three settings: either none, quarantine, or reject.
Okay.
So none, guess what that stands for? It's none. It's not. It means you still don't have anything, but you've got DMARC. Okay. The second one, obviously, quarantine, but then your email will come in, it'll still go to your spam folder, which means that if you click on it, you still can be compromised, of course. And then reject is the best, because now remember, it checks back and checks at the receiving server. So if you've got DMARC and you send me an email, my Office 365, if the email didn't come from you, it'll just simply drop the email. It won't even come to the spam or the inbox. So the best setting, but it takes about 6 weeks to set it up properly. And then you've got to monitor and manage it, because things change. So it's not just a lot of people go, oh yeah, I've set my thing to reject, and then they're starting to miss emails. So if you don't do this properly or professionally, you will experience email problems regardless. Does that make sense? So
And
it's almost,
is that a
again,
service you provide, Francis?
yeah,
You
no,
help
absolutely.
people
And it
with
costs a
that?
fortune. It's all of £56 a month to get it done for a small business, you know.
That
So
is
it's
a
like,
fortune.
it's nothing. But imagine I can earn you another 1,000, 10, 100,000 pounds just on, because now your emails are being delivered, you know, because people are missing quotes, they're missing invoices, they're missing deadlines, and they don't know why.
Newsletters, anything, right?
Yeah, newsletters.
It can really impact a wide range of marketing activities. Marketing and comms, just normal communications, right?
Oh, absolutely. And then the other thing which we haven't touched on yet, which I'll gladly speak to you about, is talking about mobile security. Because Alex, you mentioned earlier about people downloading stuff, and they do, especially kids, right? Because we do a lot of talks at schools and universities now. And if you look at a mobile phone now, you're 3 times more likely to click on a link on a mobile than you are now on a PC or Mac. And hence why we then released our mobile security solution last year, because we knew that that's a massive area of attack. Because everybody's got the mobiles on, they're all doing the banking, they're looking at WhatsApp and Twitter and TikTok and Facebook, and it's just a wild west. But here comes the real bad news. There are something like 70,000 infected apps on the Google Store, the Apple Store, the Microsoft Store. And you would think that they would take them off, but they just don't.
So are there any, let's say, red flags or anything that you need to look at before downloading an app that could tell you that either this is not really a safe app to download, or are there any, I don't know, any kind of markers saying that you can trust in, saying that this is actually a well-developed and secure app, or that is not really anything in existence at the moment?
That's an interesting question, though, because, you know, I'm thinking back to before we had my phone protected. Because a lot of people say, oh, but my phone, Apple is protected. I said, no, not at all. And I'll give you an example the other day, which I've never seen before. This woman clicked on a link on a Windows 11 machine, and she started getting these pop-ups. A few seconds later, the same pop-ups happened on her iPhone. So we then installed the security on the phone, we installed security on the laptop, and now all is well, of course. However, I've never seen it propagate that fast. Now, to answer your question, you know, how do you walk into a room? Let's rewind to COVID days, if I may use an analogy. How do you know that everybody in that room has not got COVID? You know, do you run a DNA test or something before? You know, it's almost impossible to tell, unless you yourself had the jabs and now you walk into the room, so at least the infection won't spread to you. So my only other thing I can think of, have a look at, you know, how many reviews they've had, do some research on the internet, you know, if you can see the website, put that through. I've got a brilliant checker, which again I can share with you to make sure the website is legit. So you can run several tests, but most people won't do that. Even if you tell them, they just go, yeah, click, my mate showed me this, or they send it over WhatsApp and then done.
Yeah.
So it's to answer your question, Alex, it's really difficult, and that's why I'll show you something. I mean, I know this is recorded, but I'm just going to open up my lookout, which is we evaluated, I'm not joking, about 9 different solutions, including Cisco and a few others, and this came out the best by far. Now I'm going to show you the screen. Now the top one, for instance, you will not believe it. I mean, it's now 2:35 on the 28th of May. It's already scanned 15,000 URLs since this morning.
Wow.
Now, I can assure you, I haven't been to 15,000 websites, but my phone has, unbeknown to me.
Wow.
Now you can see the problem, all right? So your phone is constantly... Hey?
It's why, because I guess apps are connecting to various websites for
Exactly.
data, etc.
This is
it. And the other...
Yeah, no, carry on.
No, I don't know why this has jumped to my mind, but and I know like agencies, marketing agencies, for example, let's use marketing agencies as a good example, because I know they use lots of accounts, like they use project management accounts, they use marketing platform accounts, they use email accounts, etc., etc., etc. And so they're opening up millions and millions of different accounts. But what I have seen amongst many businesses is that they just say, let's say they've got their info at whatever.com. And when they go to open a new account, it says, do you want to sign in with Google? And they just go, boom, yes, sign in with Google. And this is just something I've just been thinking about recently. And I've now tried to de-link anything that I've signed up with via Google, and then correcting because I said, because I just I don't know what it was, but something triggered me. And I was like, this just feels really unsafe. And I feel like if anyone manages to get this password, they're going to get into everything, and that seems terrifying to me. And it doesn't matter what kind of password keepers I have. If I'm just signing in with Google, what's the point?
And you've just nailed it, because a lot of companies now are selling, large companies, even smaller ones, SSO, stands for single sign-on. I'm like, that's like having one key for your entire life. And if we use analogy again, imagine, you live in a house, but there's, maybe in the young days when we shared with other people, but not married and family now, people live in different rooms, all sharing the house, 5 or 6 of you. Imagine you just had the front key, but you can go into all their rooms and steal all their stuff. Instead of everybody, even though they're within a house, they all got their door key personal to them. And you're right, that's number one reason. Number two reasons, and I'll tell you a story now, which we're seeing more and more. A lot of people, when they then log on to one of the websites, it says trust this site, or even when they log on with a 2-factor authentication code, they go trust this site. You know why? Because then they don't have to pick their phone up and put the code in again. Do you know what they're doing in that process? They're saving that information in a cookie. Now, let me show you how to hack somebody. All you do is you send someone an email, if you don't have email security. The first thing they do when you click on it, it'll put a piece of software onto your PC or Mac. And what does it do? It steals all the cookies. Why? Because in the cookie now, because you've got all your passwords saved in Chrome or Edge or wherever, so you've got all their passwords, all the URLs, you've got the cookies, and now you can log on anywhere in the world without the 2-factor authentication code, because you've now bypassed 2FA code because you clicked accept. So I always beg people, never, ever, 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 ever say accept or trust this device. Always rather take the pain and do it manually every single time, because then you'll be infinitely.
I did not know that. And in fact, I think yesterday I was on a website and it said something like, I think it was there, trust this device or trust this browser or something like that. And I clicked yes.
But even if you log into your HMRC account, there's a button that says trust for 7 days, right?
Of course, yeah.
So even that button, right, is risky. Rather don't do it.
That's what it was. I clicked that the other day.
So you are doing your taxes.
Think about if I can get into HMRC account, what information, I've got your whole life. I know what tax you're paying, everything about you that I need potentially to open up an account.
Ouch.
It's nuts. But people are not even aware of this because nobody's ever spoken to them about it, or they didn't listen to a podcast, or and they're completely oblivious. And then they wonder why they get out.
Right, Francis, now that we've scared everyone to absolute death and we're all going to go change our passwords
I would never do
immediately.
such a thing. Have you seen my new slogan?
Okay, for our listeners, it says scaring is caring.
It is. People say, I'm so scary. I said, I'm not scary. It's the subject. But here's the good news. The good news is the stuff is fixable.
Right.
You
So
know,
how can anyone listening who's ready to jump on and get the protection they need, Francis, how can they get hold of you?
listen, I will answer your question because we've still got some time. I just want to do a live demo with you, if I may.
Okay.
As we on the subject of passwords. You both use iPhones, don't you?
No,
No,
I don't.
I use I have a Google thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
do you? Or
A
even worse.
Pixel.
Oh, so, do you do? Have you, when last did you go into Google on your phone and looked at passwords and see how many have been compromised?
Very long ago. I need to redo that. That's
You
my
need to have a
homework.
look. But
You mean go on to
yeah, if you go on
to
your phone, if you go on your
yeah.
phone and you'll see this is for Android, but I'll for the listeners, I'll do the same for you in your iPhone because the other day I did a talk at the Women in the State Agency. There were 420, 30 women there. I got them all to take their phones out, right? So then I told them all to open up their iPhone and look for the word passwords. Now, when you get to passwords, you'll see a little white icon with the yellow, green, and blue key. Now, if you go in there and you scroll all the way to the bottom, it'll say open passwords or whatever. Then you get to a section, there's a gray section on the left, says security. Now, when you go into the security, it'll show you a number. That number is how many compromised passwords are sitting on your phone and has been sitting there for years.
I've got none.
Well,
Right,
well
that's-
done.
Good job.
Oh, how do I? No,
So, look at
no
you now.
compromised passwords.
There you go. That's none is the right answer.
It's because I think I've only in total I've only got 6 on my Google. The rest of them are all in Keeper.
Yeah, that's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. Okay, so I hope that's useful. I mean, I like to share a lot of practical tips. So to answer your question, Erica, we deal with a lot of small businesses. We don't care if you're 1 user, 5 user, 50 or 500 users, but especially the smaller businesses because we feel that they deserve the same level of protection as Barclays and Nasdaq and Netflix. And like I said, we put in 5 core services, including, like I said, the password manager, and we spend an hour training each person just so that they know how to use the system, because otherwise, if we don't do that, 2 months later, they go, oh, you know what, it's not working for me. It's not working because you never spend the time to learn how to use it the first time. It's like driving.
Yeah.
But the benefits people get is phenomenal. So if they go onto our website, which is security-everywhere.com, they'll see all the services. There's a drop down where you can see the different services. You don't have to take all 5. But to give you an idea, the mobile security is £7 a month. The email security, we have to protect all the mailboxes, is £11 per mailbox. This is plus VAT, of course. And then the password manager is £8 plus VAT. And like I said, so you can mix and match depending which area you want to protect first, or you can do them all, which is obviously the best option. And we do that on a 30-day rolling contract. Failing that, please pick the phone up and give me a call, myself or Sheldon. Our office number is 0203 195 0555. And do +44 if you're listening from overseas. We've got clients in 15 countries now. And we also send out cyber tips, which are free. We do email security audits, or reviews, which takes 2 weeks, which again is free, just to show you where your exposures are. And also definitely follow me on LinkedIn, Francis West, and our company is Security Everywhere on LinkedIn, because we post almost every day, just educating people all the time.
Absolutely. And I can also say, other than the fact that I feel very protected with having Security Everywhere, that if you ever are unsure of anything, you can also just drop Francis a note and say, hey, Francis, should I trust this? And he's fabulous at telling you yes or no. So I've used you many times for that, Francis, to give me a little bit of extra peace of mind.
So my email address is francis with an I.w at security-everywhere.com. So if you send me an email, I'll respond immediately. Don't WhatsApp me because I get so many messages. Best to either phone, text, send a dove, but do not WhatsApp me, please, because I get so many WhatsApp messages.
And not only is it, you know, an extremely good service that you were saying, Eric, in terms of protection, but it's, you know, not many businesses have a real face to it these days. And
exactly. And when I still haven't sent you, just remind Alex, I need to send you our new logo, protected by security over 5 stars. So people are now using that for marketing purposes. They put it on their signatures, on their website, which I just thought so people can see that and then they need to use this as a marketing and sales tool. Why? Because you tell your clients that you've teamed up or you're now using a cybersecurity specialist, you really care about their data. You can prove to them that all your passwords are unique and not for sale in the dark web. So use it as a sales tool. You know, people really value this stuff.
Please send it. Yes, absolutely. Love that. Francis, it's been too long. Thank you for joining us. It's been wonderful to catch up and just hear how you've continued with your awesome journey. When we last met, you had a mission to educate X number of people. I'm sure you must have met your number now.
Well, my first mission, which we discussed many years ago, was to educate and protect at least 1 million people from cybercrime. We did that last October, we reckon, you know, give and take, because I've done over 500 talks now on cyber and podcasts. That's why I love doing these, because I know it'll help a few more people. And also our new mission now is to protect and educate at least 1 million businesses from cybercrime by the end of next year. So we're about a third way there. So we need some more help to get it out there. But you know my ultimate goal, and that's to become the Martin Lewis of cybersecurity on TV.
Well, there we go.
Then I'll do a few million in a day, and never mind over time.
Brilliant. Alex, what's your biggest takeaway from today?
Well, to be honest, I think I wouldn't be able to do any of the pieces of advice justice like Francis would. But I would just say that the one learning that I had recently was linking my Google accounts to everything. And I would suggest that if you have 1 million accounts linked with your Google, it takes the time to delink them and do it all over again, but it's worth it. And I think you should start doing it, especially if you're a marketing agency or anyone who has multiple clients and multiple accounts, because the more clients, the more accounts you have, the more vulnerable you are. And it's worth taking that time for the longevity of your business and reputation.
Absolutely.
100%.
Francis, last words of wisdom for our audience?
Never, ever, ever use the same password twice. Never use a password that you could remember. How's that for crazy? You need to use a password manager that generates a 20-digit password as a minimum that takes on average about 1.3 sextillion years to crack. And I'll tell you something else before we go. Do you know that Amazon just got done again?
Oh, wow.
And about 2 years ago, Amazon got done, and I can prove it because all of a sudden my Amazon password, which is 20 characters long, was for sale on the dark web, and immediately with 3 clicks we log on and I change it for me. I only remember one password, and that's the one to log into my password manager every day. And I think if people just do that, never mind all the other stuff we've spoken about, you are protecting yourselves, you're protecting your customers, and you save time because you don't have to remember any passwords ever again.
No, that's wonderful. Francis, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Alex, it's been fun as always. Guys, thank you for listening. Please contact Francis and make sure your businesses and your clients' data is protected. And I will see you all again soon.
You take care.
Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Erica. Have a great day.
Bye.
That wraps up this episode of Giraffes Don't Eat Steak. Thanks for joining us. I hope you found value in our discussion and got some new ideas to apply to your own business. Tune in next week for another round of marketing insights and inspiration. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. We appreciate you listening. Catch you next time on Giraffes Don't Eat Steak.